At night, I am the cleaner of death, specializing in handling troublesome cleanup jobs for the wealthy. During the day, I am the pitiful little victim being bullied at school. On this day, I received a job order. When I arrived at the scene, the deceased turned out to be Juan Duo, who had just shoved my head into the toilet earlier that day. She lay quietly by the pool, her blood staining the entire pool red. The people nearby were still shouting, "Hurry up and clean this up, we still have a pool party to start." What a bad omen. "Hello, is the cleaning done? We need a cleaner to come and tidy up." I quickly picked up my tools and began the cleanup for the day. First, drain the pool completely, then use cleaner and a mop to slowly remove the bloodstains from the pool. I wore a large black mask, tucked all my hair under a hat, my gaze unusually cold, as if I had been killing fish at our T-Mart for over 20 years. I began cleaning with practiced ease. These sheltered rich kids were completely stunned. "Aren't you scared at all? I find it quite eerie just looking at this corpse floating in the pool. Wow, she's really efficient at her work. What is she muttering about? This is my first time seeing such a door-to-door service. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have gone through so much trouble before." The rich second-generation heirs leaned in closer, trying to make out what I was saying. "Killed someone to make this room like this. Shall I take this body away? Let her sleep somewhere else. This place won't do." They all froze in shock. "If you want to take it away, go ahead. It's really terrifying to have it here with us. By the way, after cleaning up, the police really won't be able to find anything, right?" I curled the corner of my mouth at them. "Of course, as long as you destroy the surveillance thoroughly, I guarantee the forensics team won't be able to detect anything." After the pool was cleaned, I took a closer look at the body. It was an old acquaintance, my classmate, Juan Duo. She was dressed in revealing clothes, with large areas of pale skin exposed, and there were signs of beatings on her body. She did not die peacefully. During the day at school, she always acted arrogantly and bullied others. What she despised most were people like me, who had no family background yet still studied at this elite school. Unfortunately, she now lies here silently and without a sound. I sighed and dragged her into my trash bin. She was so light, I barely used any effort to stuff her in. Once thrown into the trash can, it will be transported away like garbage, eventually disappearing from this world without a trace. While moving the body, I also noticed the small needle marks on her arm. It turns out she wasn't a rich girl at all, yet she acted so high and mighty at school. The result can only fool those naive students at school. Now it's good she's been played to death by the real rich second generation. I still have to clean up her body. After cleaning the pool and the body, I did the final cleanup, thoroughly wiping away the bloodstains from the sofa seams. After everything was tidied up, not a trace of blood could be smelled at the scene. I turned around to look at their leader, Cheng Xiaoyun, and walked up to him. "Hello, the cleanup is complete. The total cost for this cleanup is approximately 200,000 renminbi. Would you prefer to pay in cash or by card transfer? The standard rate is 50,000, but calling me out here in the middle of the night, and with a bunch of rich kids who don't care about money, I immediately quadrupled the price." Cheng Xiaoyun didn't mind the premium at all and casually pulled out a black card. I skillfully took out my POS machine to process his payment, then transferred 50,000 from my card to my boss. Making a profit as a middleman is just that quick. Then, I considerately turned on the water pipe for their pool and filled it with fresh water. "It's clean here, as if nothing ever happened, as if the corpse that just appeared was also an illusion." These rich second-generation heirs are satisfied, finally cleaned up. Young Master Cheng is hosting today. If it ended before midnight, wouldn't that be a real letdown? Let's keep the party going. A few more people jumped into the swimming pool, with bikinis and champagne flying everywhere. My work was done, and theirs was just beginning. The beauties invited by these rich second-generation heirs all wore coy smiles on their faces, as if they were ready to provide any service as long as the money was right. I picked up my tools and prepared to leave. Halfway there, I still heard them say to the leader, Cheng Xiaoyun, "Will she talk? After all, this is a human life. Our family has used this cleanup organization before. The police won't know anything, and Juan Duo is just a poor wretch. No one will care whether she lives or dies." Her, poor. I saw her carrying a Hermes bag and thought she was some kind of rich second generation. What kind of rich second generation? She's just a gold digger. I only found out after sleeping with her. Before leaving, I repeatedly assured them, "Boss, I guarantee that even if the police come, they won't find anything." Dragging the trash can containing Wonduo's body, I slowly walked out of the yard. Their worries were unnecessary. As someone with such strong professional ethics, of course, I wouldn't say a word. You get what you pay for. I'm the most professional death scene cleaner. I flashed a perfect smile. Bullies always get what's coming to them in the end. It was the third day Wonduo hadn't come to school. Wonduo's family came to the school. They were not the coal tycoons she had described. Her parents were dressed very plainly, driving an old Volkswagen. Clearly middle-aged people still struggling to make ends meet. They were making a scene in the counselor's office like vendors in a vegetable market. Wonduo didn't come home yesterday. She's been missing for 3 days now. And your school has no responsibility at all. If we can't find anyone today, we're not leaving. Hey, we're just going to sit right here. What are you going to do about this? We pay so much money every year, and the school is so unscrupulous. The counselor tried to explain. Ms. Wonduo, please calm down. The school is taking this matter very seriously and is already searching with the police. Wonduo's family remained unyielding. I raised my daughter well, and I was planning to ask for at least 500,000 in bride price. Now she's gone. Will the school compensate us for the money? Her younger brother is still young. When the time comes to buy a house or a car, which one won't need his sister's help? Our family worked so hard to get her into this elite school, and now look what's happened. We didn't catch a rich suitor, and now she's gone. Heartless school. If you don't give me an explanation, I'll go to the police station tomorrow and hold up a banner, probably. Even the counselor has never seen a parent like this. Left speechless and flushed with embarrassment, the school will do its utmost. They made a fuss until noon, and the school said they might offer some compensation, which finally calmed her parents down for a while. No one expected that it would be her own parents who exposed Wonduo's identity as a rich second generation. It was actually her own parents. She wasn't the daughter of a coal tycoon at all, but a girl raised by her family to attract a son, and she even had the task of bringing in a huge dowry. It's truly shocking. Wonduo's parents made such a big scene that the whole campus is buzzing with gossip. Wonduo usually presents herself as a young lady of high status at school, frequently posting about her travels around the world and Michelin-starred dining experiences on social media, and driving a different luxury car to school every month. She and her girlfriends often frequent high-end venues, and she even takes the initiative to pay the bill. She was also surrounded by a number of wealthy second-generation suitors, some drawn to her money, others to her beauty. Students at this school quickly learned to judge people by their status. Wealthy young men would never fall for a Cinderella from a poor family. There were quite a few like Wonduo who had been packaged in a similar way, but he was the only one who had achieved such success. She had her own circle of wealthy second-generation friends and a fabricated background as the daughter of a coal mining tycoon. Wonduo's family is so poor. Where did she get all that money? Driving luxury cars every day and hanging out at bars. Look at her social media posts. They all require a lot of spending. Could she be a sugar baby, trading her body for money? I think so, maybe. As her parents said, she's just here to find a sugar daddy. She's really good at pretending. Then, I genuinely thought she was a rich girl. Has anyone ever exposed her before? TSK. I wonder if the people she's been with before have picked up that poor, tacky vibe from her. Then why does she look down on this and that every day? Their family is so poor. Have you ever seen such an old Volkswagen at our school? I bet they're not even as well off as Ming Cancan's family. I sat in my seat, completely ignoring their discussion, yet someone still tried to drag me, the one being bullied, into this massive wave of accusations against Wonduo. Ming Cancan, what do you think? You were really bullied by Wonduo for nothing. Didn't you notice anything off before? But I lowered my head, working on the tedious homework, forcing out a less than pretty smile. How would I know? She only takes her anger out on me. I'm really relieved that she's gone. I know a lot of things. I also know that Wonduo, whom the police are looking for, is currently hiding in my house, but I am a professional crime scene cleaner, and the police can't find any trace at all during the day. However, I am just the most ordinary student at school, often bullied. Why bother asking her? She's practically invisible most of the time. It would be a miracle if she knew anything. the police questioned everyone who usually interacted with Won Duo, and even a poor soul like me, who had been bullied by her for years, didn't escape, but the police couldn't get anything out of me. After all, I'm just a weak and helpless little victim of her bullying. She doesn't usually bully me much. It's not like what the classmates say, is it? Then she won't be coming back. Finally, he asked one more question. What were you doing at that time that day? I was cleaning. The police officer immediately nodded. So you weren't at the scene. Before the police had even asked a few questions, I was already crying uncontrollably, and they lost their patience. After all, I'm not a key figure in Won Duo's social circle. This school is no stranger to bullying incidents where the strong pick on the weak. Most importantly, there's Won Duo's last boyfriend, Cheng Xiaoyun. Cheng Xiaoyun sat casually across from the police officer. She did come to see me that night, but when she saw other beautiful women around me, she got angry and ran off. You know how young girls are. I can't just lower myself to coax her, can I? In the end, I have no idea where she went. I stayed at our villa all night. You know, many people can vouch for that. Can't you investigate properly? I'm a law-abiding citizen. My father pays a lot of taxes for this city every year. Besides, I'm a victim too. Who knows how much she might have swiped on my card. The police didn't buy his story at all. Stop talking nonsense and confess properly. Believe it or not, we can make you sit on that bench until it wears out. Cheng Xiaoyun curled the corner of his lips. He didn't believe it at all. And besides, his father held considerable influence in this city. They will soon pressure them to release him. And besides, the police have no solid evidence, which is why they are interrogating him here. Don't rush, officer. Why not look a bit more? You can't convict someone based on speculation. You know, they searched the villa where Won Duo was last seen over and over again, but found no conclusive evidence. Cheng Xiaoyun emerged from the police station completely unscathed. As he walked out, he let out a whistle, signaling that the police couldn't do anything to him. And he shared a knowing smile with me as I stepped out of the police station at the same time. Ugh, what a waste of my time. There's a beauty waiting for me to finish dinner. I walked back to school from the police station, but Cheng Xiaoyun came around from the other side pretending to run into me by chance. He had a teasing smile in his eyes as he casually lit a cigarette with a lighter. Thank you, little one. You must often be bullied by this woman too, right? Look at your head. Did Won Duo break it for you? I've really spoiled her to the point of lawlessness. I apologize. On her behalf, he was right. This head of mine was indeed broken. When Won Duo grabbed my hair and slammed it against the toilet, he recognized me and even looked into my background. I don't want to have too much contact with him, so I turn around and start walking in the other direction. He reaches out and hooks my bag, forcing me to stop. I look at him in confusion. Hello, do we know each other? Cheng Xiaoyun across from me was almost laughing out loud. You really are, you little beanpole. Much more interesting than Won Duo. Don't worry. I won't spill the beans about your side gig. If I did, we'd both be in trouble, I continued, speaking word by word. If there's nothing else, I need to get to school. But Cheng Xiaoyun had no intention of letting me go. He bent down, leaning close to my ear and whispered softly, however, I didn't come to you today just to catch up. I've discovered something even more interesting. He narrowed his eyes, smiling like a cunning old fox. You've done the same things as Won Duo. A wealthy heiress falls from grace. Who would believe you never sold your body? How about giving me a try? As a patron, I'm incredibly generous. You won't find a second one like me in Yuncheng. I took a step back, maintaining a safe distance from Cheng Xiaoyun. I don't need money right now, and I haven't done any of those things. You've got the wrong person. He slowly exhaled a smoke ring. That's right. Miss Ming just took 200,000 from me, so of course she's not short on cash. But don't rush to argue. I've looked into your background, Ming Can, or should I say, Ming Canyi. He extinguished the cigarette in front of me, a mix of threat and coaxing in his tone. Are you really going to choose to refuse? I stood before him, falling into silence, seeing that I was neither swayed by softness nor hardness. Cheng Xiaoyun didn't press further. I was just one of his many amusements, like a patient hunter. He only needed to sow the seeds and wait for the flowers to bloom. I squinted, watching his retreating figure. So easy, you already know who I am. I took a couple of quick steps and wrapped my arms around Cheng Xiaoyun's waist from behind. What? Can't a girl be a little reserved? Cheng Xiaoyun's lips curved into a smile. That's a good girl. Refusing doesn't lead to a good outcome. Of course I knew. If I refused him, he had plenty of ways to torment these girls, it must be said. This Cheng Xiaoyun does have some skills. The police couldn't find Wan Duo's whereabouts, and in the end, they had no choice but to drop the matter. The school admitted defeat and compensated Wan Duo's parents a sum of money, and the incident was essentially covered up. Wan Duo's matter seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Occasionally, when it was brought up, people would say, "What bad luck, to have been friends with someone like that." I was really deceived. Yeah, can schools start checking financial backgrounds for admissions in the future? I really don't want to be classmates with this kind of person anymore. It feels even more disgusting than swallowing a fly. Oh my God, thinking about how I even gave her gifts before, it really feels like the sky is falling, and my life returned to its usual calm, except that Cheng Xiaoyun would often send me messages and call me, acting almost like a suitor. Of course, this wasn't without cost. His patience always required some physical or emotional reciprocation from me. Even if I refuse, he has a way. Beep. The phone rang again in the middle of the night. Every time it's this quiet and late at night, I start working. Location is Villa Building 1, no, 233 Huaihai South Road. Someone has died. Come quickly. I grabbed my case, put on a set of black clothes, and headed out the door, getting into my minivan. As soon as I got in the car, I felt that the address looked familiar. Watching the scenery outside the window grow increasingly familiar. Isn't this the villa where Wan Duo died at that party? Thrown by the rich second generation, this villa is still under Cheng Xiaoyun's name. I took a detour, driving in the opposite direction of Huainan South Road, and also sent a message to the person on the other side. This target is too big, I won't take it. This job is offered at 500,000, and it can go even higher if done well. I said no. Find someone else. I hung up the phone and switched my phone to silent mode. I absolutely cannot take this job. The target is too big this time, and I can't risk getting caught for such a small amount of money. I have my own principles. You never clean up a crime scene twice. The risk increases exponentially. Besides, this time, my gut tells me something is off. Sure enough, the next day, I went to school as usual, only to find the school surrounded by police. The entire city's police force had been mobilized, creating a massive scene. I didn't need to deliberately inquire. I pieced together what had happened the night before from the conversations of the students. This time, the victim was Cheng Xiaoyun, the star of the pool party that day and a prominent figure at the school. It is said that he died in the large swimming pool of his own villa. When he was discovered, the blood had already stained the entire pool red. By the time he was taken to the hospital, he had lost too much blood, and there was no way to save him. He had already died in the swimming pool, with his blood nearly drained. The reason he was sent to the hospital was that the servants did not want to confirm Cheng Xiaoyun's death on their own hands. At the time, aside from Cheng Xiaoyun and the servants, there were no other visitors in the villa. Due to the bizarre nature of his death, and the fact that Cheng Xiaoyun was the only son of a local wealthy businessman, the police quickly launched an investigation, this time with more manpower, with Wan Duo. This is already the second person to die in that villa swimming pool, and it was exactly the same way of death. Cheng Xiaoyun was a prominent figure at the school, and now even the principal's intervention can't suppress the discussion about this matter. Who did he offend? No. Is there anyone in Yuncheng who dares to kill Cheng Xiaoyun? Are they not afraid of losing their life? If his father finds out, wouldn't they be flogged posthumously? Yeah, could it be Wan Duo's ghost? When Wan Duo went missing, he was the prime suspect. But there was no evidence. The more you talk, the scarier it gets. Wasn't it said before that Wan Duo was last seen in that villa? Oh my God, is it coming to claim his life? His dad would turn the entire Yuncheng upside down, wouldn't he? I was also a bit shocked. Logically, even if I didn't go, the organization would have sent another cleaner to tidy up the scene. How could they just let someone die there so blatantly, and with such a huge sum of 500,000? There would always be someone bold enough to take the job. Suddenly, a chill slowly crept up my spine. Even though it was scorching hot outside, I started to feel cold and break out in a cold sweat, not because of fear, but because of excitement. Actually, Cheng Xiaoyun was right. My family has indeed fallen from grace. My father embezzled a huge sum of money and, unwilling to face imprisonment, jumped from a building. Upon learning of this, my mother immediately fled with her jewelry and bags. All the family's assets were seized and investigated. During those months, I couldn't even afford to eat. If I hadn't encountered the organization, I might have ended up like Cheng Xiaoyun said, possibly having to trade my body for money, but it was precisely when I was at my hungriest that this job as a crime scene cleaner found me. This job is very discreet. We all communicate one way through our phones. Messages are also set to self-destruct after being read. I have not communicated with any other members of the organization besides the personnel I am in contact with. The organization processes payments quickly and never asks for real identities. Apart from being recognized by Cheng Xiaoyun once, I have never been exposed. Moreover, if you clean it up thoroughly, you can get a huge sum of money, but you also have to bear the risk of being raided by the police or discovered by neighbors during the cleanup process. Cleaning up the mess left by rich second-generation heirs is a good gig. I always get orders like this. They even thoughtfully handle the cameras, deal with the victim's family, and take care of everything that could put them in danger, so I've never encountered such risks before. As for orders like dealing with Cheng Xiaoyun, these high-risk, high-stakes jobs where there's a chance of being discovered from the start, I've never received one in the first place. I sent a text message yesterday. Did you not send cleaners over again? The organization quickly replied, sounding rather flustered. Send who? That Cheng Xiaoyun's death is suspicious. It's not just about cleaning up the scene, and this person even used Cheng Xiaoyun's phone to send the cleanup request. I thought the one who died was. You thought the one who died was an innocent woman, right? I couldn't help but find it somewhat amusing. It's not Cheng Xiaoyun who should die. Today's incident might just be brushed aside again. After hesitating for a long time, the second text message was finally sent. Maybe you should lay low for a while. I'm afraid they might trace it back to you. I didn't reply anymore. I'm afraid they won't be able to trace it back to me, so how can I wipe out the Cheng family in one fell swoop? Cheng Xiaoyun is dead, and his father is beyond furious. Cheng Xiaoyun's father, Cheng Zhe, is a real estate and financial tycoon in this area, and he only has this one son, who has been pampered and doted on since childhood. Even if he were to poke a hole in the sky, there would be a way to fix it for him, yet his son died right under his nose. And in such a tragic way. Cheng Zhe was blunt in front of the police. We must find out who the murderer is. We must, even if we have to turn Yuncheng upside down. Otherwise, I'll invest elsewhere next year. By then, your fiscal revenue will plummet. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. The school could no longer hold normal classes. Every day was filled with police interrogations and the Cheng family patrolling the premises. I was soon discovered by the Cheng family. As Cheng Xiaoyun had made a transfer of 200,000 to me not long ago, they quickly sat down opposite me. Miss Ming, when was the last time you saw young Master Cheng? Last time one duo went missing. I met Cheng Xiaoyun once outside the police station. The assistant pushed up his glasses, not surprised by my answer. They've already checked the surveillance. If I said I hadn't seen him, that would be a big problem. Then, Miss Ming, can you tell me what you talked about that day? I smiled at them. Cheng Xiaoyun said he wanted to keep me. He said since I had sold my body before, why couldn't I sell it to him? The assistant was speechless, but then he nodded. This is indeed their young master's consistent style. It's just that the girl in front of me looks a bit too thin and frail, not exactly the type the young master usually goes for. I know what they're thinking, but the person is already dead. Could they possibly bring Cheng Xiaoyun back to life and ask if he had a relationship with me? Did young Master Cheng transfer you 200,000 yuan? Did you two have that kind of relationship? I smiled even more brightly, covering my stomach with my hand. Yes, of course. Maybe I'm carrying Cheng Xiaoyun's child right now. What, do you also want to be the godfather of this child? After saying that, I started vomiting violently, as if I were trying to spit out all the bile. The assistant was even more speechless and hurried out to call Cheng Xiaoyun's father, Cheng Zhe. If I really were pregnant with Cheng Xiaoyun's child, I would be someone he couldn't afford to neglect. Cheng Zhe is much more astute than his assistant, Cheng Xiaoyun. The first thing he did when he invited me to the Cheng family's old mansion was to have a doctor draw my blood. Sitting on the sofa, he clearly didn't believe a word I said, giving me a cold glance. Since Miss Ming claims to be pregnant with Cheng Xiaoyun's child, let's see if that's true. Our Xiaoyun plays around a lot. I've seen plenty of girls like you. You should know that deceiving our Cheng family comes with a price. I sat on the soft stool, letting the doctor draw my blood, and couldn't resist taunting him. But what if it's true? This would be the Cheng family's only child. Cheng Zhe didn't believe it, but he had no choice. He snorted coldly and went back to reading his newspaper. Cheng Xiaoyun was his only child, and at his age now, having another one would be difficult. The Cheng family's private doctor drew blood, and within less than half an hour, brought a report to show Cheng Zhe. Cheng Zhe's pupils slightly widened, then quickly returned to normal. She is indeed pregnant, and the timing matches, but whether it's Cheng Xiaoyun's child is uncertain. Have a DNA test done. The doctor nodded and bowed in agreement, then drew another tube of blood from me, but he also reminded Cheng Zhe, it's difficult to obtain the young master's DNA now, and the exact results won't be available until a week later. Cheng Zhe nodded. I can wait that long, and I believe Miss Ming can wait as well. I am completely open and honest. Of course, I am Cheng Xiaoyun's last woman. Is it strange that I am carrying his child? And you can check, I usually don't have contact with other men. There can't be any other possibility. Cheng Zhe is indeed a businessman. He wouldn't change his opinion of me based on just a few words I said. You say it is, so it is. The specific results will only be known after a DNA comparison. You can stay at the Cheng family's house these days, and there will be servants to take care of you. Although the conversation had reached this point, Cheng Zhe was already half convinced. I settled into the Cheng family's house without a care in the world. The most dangerous place is, to some extent, the safest place. Even if someone discovers any clues now, they wouldn't dare to do anything to me. After all, I am pregnant with the crown prince's child. I settled down in the Cheng family, and the servants there treated me very well. With only a week left, I gradually began to feel excited inside. Finally, I have finally arrived here. I will never forget the scene when my father jumped off the building, and Cheng Zhe was watching the show down below. He is a loyal dog, but unfortunately, if he doesn't take on this responsibility, all of us will be in trouble. He watched the entire process of my father jumping off the building with indifference, showing no emotional fluctuation at all. And it didn't even delay him from picking up his son from his extracurricular class. What kind of interest class? A rich young man, just for fun. Insists on having someone accompany him in extreme sports. This interest class was actually something the young master wanted to attend, and it was packaged by the institution as a noble course. They specifically recruit beautiful young women, and those he takes a liking to have no power to refuse. Unfortunately, my sister was once one of them. For the young women recruited into this interest class, those who are obedient might fare better, but for those who aren't, there's a chance of death in extreme sports, and it can almost always be made to look like an accident. She was still full of joy before she went. I've never played with these before. So many people are going. It should be fine, right? Even if something happens, my sister will protect me. When I saw her again, even her body wasn't intact. It's really laughable. In front of the Cheng family, our own family can hardly protect itself. How could I protect her? Because of the family planning policy, my sister was never registered on our family's household registration from the start, and Cheng Xiaoyun never knew about it until his death. Among the women he had played to death, there was one who was connected to me. This father and son are both equally disgusting. These two owe our Ming family 2 lives and families like ours. In this cloud city, who knows how many there are. I looked at the dark, overcast sky outside while sipping the bitter orange juice handed to me by the servant. This time, it was finally my turn to sit here. Cheng Zhe's family doctor handed me a paternity test report and whispered, "Are you sure about this?" I smiled at him and said, "A true chess player must make the opponent willingly walk into the trap. When everyone around him becomes a victim, the most dangerous one becomes the perpetrator." My phone keeps ringing incessantly, and it goes without saying that the number of cases has increased recently. No, 103. Location XXXX. Can you go clean it up now? No, 103. Are you still there? Number 103. Are you still working or not? I replied, I was beaten up and can't drive, so I can only take jobs in this area. Oh, what a shame. You were our best cleaner. In this area, among the wealthy, there's only the Cheng family's old mansion belonging to Cheng Zhe. I still have to keep this cleaning organization stable, but doing these things again is too dangerous. I would be discovered immediately if I went out now. The excuse is clumsy but practical, and Chengze has become increasingly irritable lately, with more and more lives on his hands. However, he hasn't caused trouble in the villa, perhaps afraid of scaring the little life in my belly, and today, I won't be going to work for him. Instead, I'll be sitting on the sofa in the villa, waiting for him to return. When Chengze returned from outside with a gloomy expression, he was greeted by my beaming, cheerful smile. I waved the paternity test report in my hand. See, I told you, didn't I? I'm pregnant with Cheng Xiaoyun's child. Chengze's eyes suddenly lit up, and he glanced at the family doctor again. The doctor nodded beside him, and only then did he break into a smile. Miss Ming, you have quite the skill. Since you're carrying our Xiaoyun's child, you'll never have to worry about food or drink for the rest of your life. However, Miss Ming looks very much like an old acquaintance of mine. I find it hard to believe that Miss Ming would fall in love with my son, Xiaoyun. I wasn't surprised either. If Cheng Xiaoyun could find out about it, it was only natural that Chengze could as well. Moreover, the Ming family was already severely harmed by the Cheng family. If it weren't for my father taking the blame for someone else, how could I have ended up in this situation? I looked sincerely at Chengze and said, word by word, what happened to my father was his own fault. Mr. Cheng, if you've investigated, you should know that I was bullied every single day at school. I've seen it all clearly. Now, without money, you're nothing. It's better to find a wealthy partner while I'm young. Only with money can you talk about dignity. Chengze was very satisfied with my words and burst into laughter. Those who understand the times are the true heroes. Miss Ming, you are indeed a hero. I am no hero. It's just that in Chengze's eyes, I'm like a tiny ant. He probably wouldn't even imagine until his dying day what kind of threat I could pose to him. Didn't Cheng Xiaoyun die in the same way? I narrowed my eyes. However, if Chengze's death were to be like Cheng Xiaoyun's, that would be too boring. Such a powerful tycoon should, of course, die under the spotlight. My pregnancy is getting further along. Chengze has also been going out less, waiting for the birth of his precious grandson. This has left me with no opportunity, but I'm not one to sit idly by. I've gathered some inside information to report on the Cheng family's affairs. The title is simply, The Cheng Family's Collateral. Branches covet the family's wealth, and with no heir, Chengze might consider adoption, or perhaps the Cheng family's collateral branches are eyeing greedily, just waiting for Chengze to pass away. I couldn't help but laugh at my own thoughts. The Cheng family was already large, but only Chengze had shown promise. From a young age, he had witnessed brothers fighting and fathers turning against sons. Thus, they only had one son, Cheng Xiaoyun. This is only the information that can be found on the surface. In reality, Chengze was quite promiscuous in his youth, which led to weak sperm, making it impossible for him to have a second son. But now that Cheng Xiaoyun is dead, it's inevitable that the Cheng family's relatives have started to stir up ideas. Even while I was living in the villa, I saw several groups of people coming to visit Chengze. Naturally, he was not happy about this. Sure enough, when I was 7 months pregnant, Chengze invited local wealthy businessmen to his home to give his grandson a proper status. The Cheng family is bustling with excitement again. Who would have thought? The Cheng family truly has great fortune. Old Cheng has a worthy successor. After extreme adversity comes prosperity. Even greater fortune lies ahead. I'm in my later months, just acting as a mascot, making a simple appearance, and Chengze, dressed in a Zhongshan suit, had his eyes crinkled into slits as he toasted and chatted. Quite a few media outlets also came. Today, Chengze wanted everyone in Yunqing to know that he had an heir. Cameras kept flashing and clicking. I can already imagine tomorrow's headlines being about this child in my belly. However, things would never go as smoothly as Chengze imagined. When no one was paying attention, a female corpse slowly surfaced in the swimming pool. The corpse's face was deathly pale, with little blood flowing, and the decayed parts of her body outnumbered the intact ones, making her look even more terrifying than someone who had just died. Immediately, a woman's scream pierced the air, and many people at the scene backed away from the pool. Those who had just been soaking in the water began to vomit. Ah, what is this? How is it a corpse? Damn, who knows how many days this has been dead? Why is there still a stench? Someone even recognized her. Isn't that one duo, who was said to have gone missing at the Cheng family's place? The media was snapping away, and the crowd began to speculate. Their eyes involuntarily glancing toward Cheng Zhe, Cheng Zhe immediately made a phone call, his furious voice echoing throughout the villa. Wasn't it already cleaned up? What's going on now? He looked at the crowd that had come today with dissatisfaction. These are all minor issues. I'll have professional cleaners take care of it later, and not a single trace will be left. However, if what happened today gets out to the public, I can't guarantee what might happen. Only then did the people in the villa quiet down. As I retreated into the villa, the organization had sent a message. It's time for you to clean up. The address is XXXX. I replied, received. Of course, it was my turn to clean up the scene, but not now, just in time to send me a cleanup task, and no one else will disrupt my plans. Outside, it's starting to get noisy too. Cheng Zhe frowned in dissatisfaction. Where are the security guards? Why are they letting just anyone in? Get them out. But these people came in with great force. Cheng Zhe didn't recognize these insignificant people at all and looked at them in confusion, wondering, what's going on? Caught off guard, he was shoved by the leader, and Cheng Zhe stumbled backward. What are you doing? Where are the security guards? The scene was in an uproar, and these people were still carrying blood-stained banners. A life for a life. Cheng Zhe must pay with his life. Some were even wielding shovels and baseball bats, swinging them aggressively at Cheng Zhe without hesitation, instantly sparking a chaotic brawl with the security team. At that moment, Cheng Zhe had no idea what was happening. He was still shouting, "Call the police! Call the police!" It's truly laughable that the real perpetrator now wants to be protected. These intruders were also afraid that the people on the scene wouldn't understand what was happening. They used a loudspeaker to repeatedly broadcast, on X year, X month, X day, at XXX location, Cheng Zhe killed my daughter, and her body has not been found to this day. Cheng Zhe refused to settle the project payment, causing our family to be ruined. My daughter was killed by him. He didn't even spare my wife. The scene was in complete chaos. Cheng Zhe was completely baffled. He had no idea where he had slipped up. An excellent crime scene cleaner would certainly be able to spot the subtle clues in this villa. During my investigation over the past few days, I discovered that several people have died in the Cheng family's main residence where Cheng Zhe lives. I didn't have to work very hard to confirm the identity of the deceased, because I knew both Cheng Zhe's family doctor and his nanny, both of whom had suffered from his bullying. Besides the victims in this villa, Cheng Zhe has committed too many evils. As long as you extend a helping hand to them, they are willing to repay you with all their wealth. Although an ant cannot shake a tree, as long as someone raises the banner of rebellion, others will follow suit. We have been lying low together for many years. These angry people want Cheng Zhe to pay with his life. Although Cheng Zhe has a large security team in his villa, they are no match for these emotionally charged individuals, who came prepared with weapons. Moreover, they are all targeting Cheng Zhe. When people no longer care about their own lives, no amount of security can stop them. Cheng Zhe was soon severely injured, lying on the ground, barely clinging to life. Someone shouted, "Cheng Zhe is dead, retreat." With a life lost, everyone at the scene scattered and fled, whether they were the troublemakers or the resistors. Even the media, who love gossip the most, feared being implicated. The entire villa was left in a state of chaos. Cheng Zhe was severely injured and crawled in my direction. "Please, protect Cheng Xiaoyun's son." I stomped my foot hard on his head. "What kind of dream are you having? I'm not Cheng Xiaoyun's son at all. How could I possibly be pregnant with his child? I feel disgusted just thinking about sleeping with him." Cheng Zhe's face showed terror, but he could no longer speak. I increased the force of my foot and kicked him into the swimming pool. He was also in the pool, ending his own life. I lit a cigarette and sighed. "Look, a person dies, and it's made such a mess here." I took out my toolbox again and began my final perfect masterpiece. I will complete my final cleanup, washing this Cheng family spotless, leaving no trace at all. I skillfully placed Cheng Zhe into the trash bin and meticulously wiped every corner and crevice of the villa clean. Then, I silently left the Cheng family villa. Last job, the most perfect cleaner. Goodbye. I sent the organization one final text message, "Cleanup completed." Then, I tossed the phone onto a nearby garbage truck, shattering it to pieces. This time, I didn't drag the body along. Instead, I met up with the doctor and left Cloud City. The doctor drove the car, with me, big-bellied, in tow, heading north all the way. Along the way, the wind felt free. Can, Are you afraid of being discovered? I shook my head. I only fear that the father and son won't be able to pay for their crimes with their blood. I looked out at the scenery rushing by and suddenly felt as if it were all a dream. The radio was still reporting. A wealthy merchant in Yuncheng was severely beaten and tragically killed after someone illegally broke into his home, possibly related to a murder case the merchant was involved in during his lifetime. The body of an innocent young girl has finally been brought to light. Is this the extinction of humanity or the collapse of morality? Crime scene cleaners are just a creation of these wealthy individuals to cover up their crimes. With the Cheng family being one of the major shareholders, they only need to pay a small fee to get away with their crimes perfectly, and as long as they find people who are desperate, they will be willing to take on this job. To put it bluntly, there is no real difference between me and Wan Duo. They are merely playthings for the wealthy, selling their labor to the rich and earning their money. How can an ant shake a tree? Of course, one must sacrifice oneself to deliver the most painful blow to others. Every step was planned by me. Neither Cheng father nor son could have ever imagined that the one who would roll the dice of fate was the woman they looked down upon the most. I still remember the contemptuous looks in their eyes when my father and sister died, like watching a good show. Now, the spotlight has shifted to them in this grand spectacle. Wan Duo is actually an orphan. Both her parents worked for the Cheng family but suddenly went missing one day. Later, when she met me, she learned that this world operates under a different set of rules. Her mission is to gather evidence of Cheng Xiaoyun's crimes, so she was packaged as a rich second-generation girl. All the food, drinks, and things she used were rented with the money we saved together. And she even bullied me at school. It was all my doing. Only in this way could we completely sever ties. Even if she failed, I could still continue to get close to Cheng Xiaoyun, but she was too impulsive. When I wasn't completely sure, I went to test Cheng Xiaoyun. Like a moth flying into a flame, he lost his own life, and when I was draining Cheng Xiaoyun's blood, I asked him, "Did you kill Wan Duo? Have you ever had nightmares?" But he looked utterly confused. "Wan Duo, who's that? Oh, ha 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 ha, so you're here for her. You see, you lost your life, and she doesn't even remember who you are." I smiled at Cheng Xiaoyun. "Didn't you just ask me to spare you?" Dream on. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. At 10:30 p.m., the electric vehicle charging app sent me a message. Charging completed, automatic refund issued. I went downstairs to check and found that my car had been moved from the innermost spot to the outermost, while the place where the electric bike was originally parked was now empty. Without giving it much thought, I switched to another charging port and continued charging. However, less than 10 minutes after returning home, the app reminded me again. Charging ended, automatic refund issued. I stopped mopping and couldn't help but post a question online. Is someone trying to lure me downstairs by unplugging my electric scooter charger? Whether passively or actively, my hands and feet are still cold to this day. I usually ride an electric scooter to and from work, charging it at the shared charging station in the shed downstairs. Normally, it costs 1-2 yuan to fully charge. Tonight, I plugged it in at 8:30 p.m. and went upstairs. The result was that at 10:20, the mini program automatically refunded me, costing only 50 cents. Because the car's battery is completely drained, I'm sure it wasn't fully charged, but rather someone touched or unplugged it. I went downstairs to check and found that my car had been moved from the innermost spot to the outside, yet the place where I originally parked was left empty. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I just switched to another port and continued charging. I had been home for less than 10 minutes when it showed a full refund. I'm absolutely certain the charging port was securely plugged in. I checked the original charging order again and noticed that the previous refund was for a full charge, but this time it shows as passive/active disconnection. Is someone trying to lure me downstairs? I don't know what their intention is, but it's really scary. After posting my inquiry, I thought it over and decided not to go downstairs to check further. After all, life is the most important thing. What if someone is really waiting downstairs? Having made a decision, I looked at the red liquid on the floor and helplessly rubbed my forehead. Mao Tuan was too careless. He actually knocked over the ketchup. I put on rubber gloves and continued mopping the floor. Only after it was almost clean did I open my phone to check the messages. The comments section was filled with speculation and advice. Is it to confirm if you live alone? Because if a girl's charger is unplugged so late at night, she might call her boyfriend or family to accompany her. If you go down alone to check, they'll confirm you're living alone. Call the police, sis, it's too dangerous. Be careful. OP, some bad guys use this method to deliberately lure you downstairs, hide nearby to watch, and if you seem vulnerable, they might, sis, if you're okay, send us a message every half hour to let us know. This is really scary. I scrolled through the comments section, growing more and more frightened as I thought about it. Recently, the local news channel has indeed reported several murder cases, mentioning the emergence of a serial killer. The news also reminded everyone to stay safe, lock their doors at night, and report any suspicious individuals to the police. Suspicious that the door wasn't double-locked. After checking the security door, I couldn't help but take a peek through the peephole. No one. The corridor only emitted a faint, cold glow. The motion sensor light had not turned on. Reading too many comments makes you feel like someone is really out to get you. It's just scaring yourself. I patted my head and felt relieved, just sitting on the couch, about to let the sisters in the comments know I'm safe, when I heard a rapid thump, thump, thump. The door was knocked. My hand paused, my heart hanging high. Could there really be a bad person coming to the door? The room fell into silence once again. Only the sound of my own heartbeat, growing faster and faster, could be heard. I swallowed hard, my gaze slowly shifting from the doorway to the kitchen. The kitchen emitted a warm orange glow, accompanied by a rich, savory aroma. The pork trotter soup I had been simmering for nearly an hour. Gripping my phone tightly, I slowly inched my way to the kitchen and casually picked up a fruit knife. As I moved to the living room door, my phone suddenly rang. I was startled and fumbled to hang up the call. I looked uneasily toward the security door. Quiet, too quiet. I don't know how long it had been, but there was another urgent knock at the door. Hello, your takeout order is here. Please open the door to get it. Hearing this, I felt a little relieved. It was just a food delivery person. I opened my phone to check. The call just now was also a virtual number from a food delivery platform. Looking through the peephole toward the door, the person outside was indeed wearing a delivery uniform. He was smiling, holding a packaged meal in his hand. It seems I was too busy earlier and forgot about the food I ordered not long ago. But how does it feel like his gaze is meeting mine through the peephole? My heart skipped a beat. Just leave the takeout at the door. I'll get it myself later. I nervously raised my voice to the delivery guy at the door. All right. Remember to give a 5-star review. Hearing the footsteps gradually fading away at the door, I slowly loosened my grip on the knife handle. I'm never ordering takeout at night again. That scared me to death. Muttering to myself, I patted my chest with one hand while leaning against the door, sliding down weakly and collapsing in the entryway. After sitting for a while, I finally caught my breath, stood up, and prepared to get the takeout. Before opening the door, I casually glanced through the peephole. The bright hallway was empty. Just as I was about to pull down the door handle, I suddenly remembered something. The phone order clearly noted, leave the takeout at the door, no need to knock. So why was this delivery person still standing outside waiting for my response before leaving? And the motion sensor light at the door is still on. If the delivery person had really left, the outside should be dimly lit by the faint glow seeping from my room. I crouched down, quickly picked up the dropped fruit knife from the floor, and opened my phone to dial 110. On the third ring, I hung up the call. Maybe I'm overthinking it. As I hesitated whether to call the police, there was a rustling sound at the door. It sounds like someone is picking the lock. Oh no, it's too late to call the police now. I immediately called the property management. Hello, I'm a resident of Unit 816. There's a suspicious person at my door trying to break in. Please come quickly. Okay, MS, Lynn, I'm on my way. Don't panic, we'll be there in 10 minutes. Beep, beep, beep. The phone was hung up. The sound of lockpicking at the door grew increasingly frantic, no longer caring whether the person inside the room would notice. What should I do? I can't just sit around and wait. The property management said it will take 10 minutes to arrive. 10 minutes. I just need to hold on until around 23:43. I must drag it until the property management comes. I strode towards the living room, pushing the coffee table toward the door with all my strength. The rubber Gloves made a squelching sound as they rubbed against the glass coffee table. Only after the coffee table completely blocked the doorway did I wipe the sweat from my forehead and tuck the stray strands of hair back under my hat. I trotted back to my room, locked the door, and did my best to drag the wardrobe over to block it. Indeed, desperate situations can unleash one's potential. I used to be someone who couldn't even carry a bag of rice. I smiled bitterly. The people outside seemed to kick the door a few times because they couldn't pry open the new anti-theft door, then angrily struck it with something. Bang, bang, bang. The banging on the door made my heart pound along with it. The maniac is too arrogant. Why did my boyfriend Zhang Qing make me live here? Not only did several people die, but it's also haunted. There are hardly any residents in this residential area. Now you've done it. You've caught the attention of a serial killer, haven't you? My whole body trembled, one hand shaking as I turned on my phone, the other picking up the fruit knife lying nearby. How has it only been 3 minutes? By the way, the balcony. I ran to the balcony of the room, looking down. It's a 12-meter drop. On either side were balconies connected to the neighboring rooms, with a 2-meter gap between them. I remember the door to the next room had 3 layers. The outermost layer is a mahogany door. The second layer is a security door, and the third layer is an iron door. I even joked with Zhang Qing, with so many doors for protection, is there something inside that can't see the light of day? Zhang Qing said, there are confidential documents inside, so you absolutely must not go in. It's because of our close relationship that I'm telling you this and letting you stay here. Please don't betray my trust. Back then, after hearing him out, I thought mockingly to myself, you don't even give me the key, so I can't get in anyway. How can you have the nerve to say you trust me? So now, to translate or not to translate, the banging on the door grew louder. I can no longer afford to hesitate. Translate, when life is at stake. What use is trust? I climbed step by step along the decorative window frame that protruded outward between the 2 balconies, tentatively pulling down the door handle of the neighboring balcony. Click, it's open. I slipped inside with a quick turn, carefully turning on my phone to light the way with its screen. I dare not turn on the light in this room. The phone's light is very dim, illuminating only a small area. Many glass display cases began to appear hazily in the line of sight. They stood one by one in the not-so-small room, as if many people were gathered there. A bit scary, but something even more terrifying happened. With a loud crash, the security door in the living room was smashed open by the serial killer. I leaned against the glass cabinet beside me in fright, tilting my head to the side, just happened to lock eyes with a pair in the glass cabinet. Damn, 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 damn. My pupils contracted sharply, and I tightly covered my mouth with my hand to stifle a scream. Is this the important document Zhang Qing mentioned? I look around. Could it be? Are all the cabinets here filled with this kind of stuff? My heart sank. The light from the next room indeed caught the attention of the killer. He walked with somewhat heavy steps, accompanied by the sound of a hard, heavy object scraping against the ground, heading toward the next room. Listening to the constant banging on the door next door, my tense heart eased slightly. Turn on the phone. It's been 5 minutes already. 5 minutes left. I licked my dry lips. There's a voice in my head constantly urging me to check out this eerie room. By the light of my phone, I tiptoed past each glass display case one by one. The glass cabinets indeed displayed human specimens, grayish-white brain matter. The following annotation is Cheng Siki, 22 years old, with an IQ of 135, a pair of lips that have lost their color. The following annotation is He Qing, 18 years old, with perfect lip shape, a piece of pale, delicate human skin, spread out. The following note is Li Wen, 16 years old, with excellent skin texture, a pair of hands adorned with red nail polish. The caption below reads, Fu Yuan, 29 years old, with a small, sexy mole on the side of her wrist. My eyes suddenly widened. Fu Yuan is Zhang Qing's ex-wife. At the end, there is an empty glass display case. Just as I was wondering why there was nothing inside, I suddenly noticed a label below. I leaned in for a closer look. Lin Qi, 21 years old, pregnant with a fetus. I held my breath, my hair standing on end. Because my name is Lin Qi, I touched my stomach. My period has always been regular, and it has indeed been delayed by a few days this month. Is that all? So this display case is specially prepared for the fetus in my belly. Zhang Qing, you bastard! With a bang, the door next door was also smashed open. My heart tightened, and the mental cursing stopped. I almost forgot there was still a murderer outside. Could the murderer outside the door be someone Zhang Qing hired specifically to kill me? Perhaps realizing there was no one next door, the murderer let out a few low, furious growls and cursed, "Damn it, you bitch, if I catch you, I'll rape you first and then kill you." I was so frightened by his threat that my breathing became somewhat rapid, and my throat felt as dry as if it were on fire. The heavy footsteps gradually faded into the distance, and several doors were opened one by one. The footsteps, accompanied by the maddeningly terrifying sound of weapons scraping against the ground, gradually drew closer, finally stopping right outside the door of the room I was locked in. "You must be in this room, right?" The killer gently tapped on the door. "Come on out, little darling, I can't wait to see you cry as you die." Listening to his perverted words, I held back the tears that were about to well up and dialed the property management's number again. "Are you here yet?" "He's inside. Woo-woo, Ms. Lin, don't be afraid, we are already on our way upstairs." I heard the property manager's hurried breathing and the sound of climbing the stairs, and tears of joy streamed down my face in excitement. Perfect. Perhaps hearing me on the phone with someone else, the person at the door seemed provoked and began frantically pounding on it. "You little bitch, you called for backup. Do you think the people you called will be scared when they see the axe in my hand? Anyway, none of you are getting away. Ha 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 ha. With one more person to walk the road to the underworld with you, you won't be lonely." The serial killer grew more and more excited as he spoke, and by the end, he was laughing heartily. I panicked and shouted, "I've already called the police. They'll be here soon. You can't kill us." I then took a miniature listening device from my pocket, attached it to the wall, and turned to walk toward the balcony. As I left the room, I glanced back at all the specimens inside, pausing for a few extra seconds at Fu Yuan's glass display case. Then, I climbed over the balcony and placed the phone on the edge of the balcony. I quickly climbed down the water pipe. After landing, I stumbled and ran outward. A minute or two later, I heard rapid footsteps outside the door through the monitor, followed by the sounds of two people fighting, which seemed quite intense. I didn't stop until I reached a phone booth, where I took off my rubber gloves and dialed 110. After a few beeps, the call was connected. Panting heavily, I cried out in a terrified voice, "Help! There's a murderer. Woo woo woo, I'm so scared. Come save me quickly. Woo woo woo." The customer service representative on the other end comforted me, telling me not to be afraid and to stay calm, while transferring the call to the police station. After the call was transferred, I was already crying so hard I could barely catch my breath. "I've encountered a murderer. Woo woo, help, my boyfriend is still in the room." "Woo woo, ma'am, please calm down. Are you currently in a safe environment? What is the exact location of the scene? What is the current situation?" "I don't know. Woo woo, I just climbed down from my house. Please come quickly, ma'am, don't be afraid. Can you tell me where you are?" "Woo woo, at, near building 14 in the Chinkuan Road Street Garden, I seemed to be crying so hard I couldn't catch my breath, hiccuping constantly. "In a phone booth. You, woo woo, hurry and save my boyfriend, he seems to have been killed." "Woo woo, alright, ma'am, you must first ensure your own safety, and we'll keep the line open." While sobbing and responding incoherently to the police, I listened to the sounds coming from the bug. As if comforted by the police, my mental state gradually improved. My sobs grew quieter, and my responses to the police contained more and more useful information. As the sounds of the struggle gradually faded, a familiar voice rang out, "Miss Lin, the assailant has been subdued. You can open the door now." Whose property management can exchange blows with a serial killer for 5 or 6 minutes? Or is it when the serial killer is armed with a weapon? That's absolutely hilarious. I curled the corner of my mouth and gently pressed the controller in my hand, counting silently in my heart. 3, 2, 1, boom. The explosion was deafening. Flames and thick smoke billowed into the sky, debris and fragments scattered in all directions. A scorching heat wave surged forth like a tidal wave. The police seemed to have heard the loud noise as well, urgently asking, "Ma'am, are you okay? What just happened? Are you still there, ma'am?" With the intermittent sound of explosions, I laughed silently, listening to the police's continuous questioning. I seemed to snap back to reality, unable to believe it. It exploded. The place I live in exploded. Wah, my boyfriend is still in there. Ah. As I screamed hoarsely, the police officer on the other end fell silent for a moment. Ma'am, please accept our condolences, our colleagues will be there shortly. I hung up the phone in the booth, placed the plastic gloves and controller into an opaque bag, and stuffed the bag into my pocket. Gazing at the raging flames in the distance, I wailed, "Wah, my boyfriend is still inside. What should I do? Someone, please save him." The crowd of onlookers gradually grew larger. The chaotic buzz of discussion was filled with talk of the explosion, along with sympathy and pity for me, who had crazily run toward the fire scene in the opposite direction. A slender young man stopped me as I staggered towards the fire scene, saying with concern, "It's dangerous ahead, you shouldn't go in just yet." I grabbed his sleeve, stared into his eyes, and wept uncontrollably. "The most important person in my life is dead, dead." The young man silently pulled me into his embrace and dragged me backward, slipping a hand into my clothes pocket to retrieve an opaque bag. Careful to avoid others' notice, after pulling me into a more crowded area, he comforted me, saying, "I'm sorry for your loss, but the dead cannot be brought back to life." I sobbed and choked. "Wu Wu, Zhangqing, what am I going to do without you?" Seeing me crying so hard I could barely breathe, the people around me stepped forward to comfort me, while also asking questions about the explosion to satisfy their hidden curiosity. I subtly revealed some information. Their curiosity is my tool to clear suspicion. The information gets distorted as it circulates, but its subjectivity will shape me into a pitiful woman when the police question them. After all, I am the only survivor from Building 14 tonight. Even though the evidence was almost lost in the explosion, I couldn't let myself fall under suspicion. Hearing the sounds of police cars and fire trucks, I touched my stomach and fainted with relief. "Baby, you came at just the right time. In the end, your mom had to rely on you for protection." Name, Lin Chi, age, 21. After the basic personal information was asked, it was finally time to inquire about the case-related situation. I was on high alert in my heart. "Miss Lin, why did you order takeout on the night of the incident?" Zhang Qing had to work the next day. I got off work late that day and only had time to make a soup. I didn't have time to prepare a lunchbox for him, so I waited until he fell asleep and ordered takeout to pretend I had cooked it myself. According to our understanding, Zhang Qing was also at home that night. "Why did you appear so scared when you posted the information?" I choked up, saying, "Zhang Chang went to bed early. He usually has trouble sleeping and always takes some sleeping pills before going to bed." I tried to wake him up, but he wouldn't budge. "I'm a blogger, and at the time, besides asking for help, I just wanted to get some attention." The female police officer questioning me seemed somewhat sympathetic, but according to our investigation, after the killer appeared, he woke up and even moved the wardrobe to block the door. "Did you hear any sounds at the time?" I covered half my face with my hand in agony, tears streaming down continuously. I didn't hear anything. At the time, I heard the sound of someone picking the lock. I tried to go into the room to call him, but I found the door was locked from the inside, so I just found a random room to hide in and called the property management to come check the situation. I wiped my tears and continued, "That murderer was using something to smash the door, and I was afraid it wouldn't hold, so I made up my mind and climbed down the water pipe from upstairs. Once I reached the ground, I wanted to call the police, but my phone was gone." "Woo woo." I had no choice but to run to a phone booth to call you all. "Miss Lin, you have 2 call records with the property management. What was the situation at those times?" I recalled. "I don't remember very clearly. The first time was probably when I realized someone was outside the door. The second time, my eyes darted to the upper left, and then, as if remembering something, I suddenly raised my voice. Yes, the second time was when I was in the room, and the murderer had already come in. He was smashing Zhang Qing's door, so I called the property management to ask where they were. They said they were almost there, but I was afraid the property management wouldn't be able to subdue the murderer, so I climbed down the building myself, as if sensing that my actions were sending innocent people to their deaths. My voice grew softer and softer. I hung my head low, my hands clenching and unclenching repeatedly. I didn't mean to." The 2 police officers exchanged a glance. The female officer comforted me. "Miss Lin, you don't need to carry such a heavy burden. We've discovered that the property management was in cahoots with the serial killer. They had collaborated in another case before, where the property management would lure residents out, only for them to be brutally murdered." My eyes widened, and my lips parted involuntarily. Then, Zhang Qing, the male officer nodded. He had already died before the explosion. The cause of death was excessive blood loss from a 6 to 8 centimeters wound on his chest, inflicted by a fire axe. I covered my mouth, tears welling up again, my lips trembling as I tried to speak. The female officer handed me a tissue and a cup of warm water, after I had calmed down. Her tone suddenly turned serious. Are you aware that Zhang Qing hired someone to murder 21 women, among whom there was a special victim, his ex-wife, Fu Yuan? At the same time, Fu Yuan was also your sponsor. The water cup in my hand suddenly fell to the ground. My expression twisted. You said Zhang Qing killed Sister Yuan. Sister Yuan is dead, the two officers said sternly. It was a hired killing. I clutched my stomach, my face pale. Seeing this, the female officer quickly pressed the call button in the hospital room. Doctors and nurses surrounded me, while the two police officers stepped back to the doorway to talk, their expressions grave. After I finished the examination, the female officer approached me. Miss Lin, please rest in bed and take good care of your pregnancy. We won't be coming to see you for a while. Lying in bed, I replied weakly, all right, if there's anything else I can help with, I'll do my best. The officers nodded, gathered all their belongings, and left the hospital room. I watched their retreating figures, touching my own flat stomach. After a long while, I closed my eyes, tears sliding from the corners. Lin Qi, calm down, the child in your belly is your lifeline, you can't risk losing it. A few days later, the officer came to visit again. They consulted the doctor about my physical condition and, after receiving the doctor's permission, entered the ward to ask if I could participate in the case investigation. I nodded and sat up from the hospital bed. The questions that had been asked last time reappeared in a different form. My emotions are more stable than last time, and my answers contain much more detail. Finally, we arrived at the question that made me mentally unstable last time. Ms. Lin, when you returned to the country 6 months ago, did you know that Fu Yuan was already missing? I shook my head and smiled bitterly. Sister Yuan sent a message to my sister a year ago, saying she had gotten divorced and was going to travel the world. Although her phone was unreachable, she would send my sister an email every month. I never expected. I lowered my head, tears falling one by one. The male officer asked again, you know Zhang Qing is Fu Yuan's ex-husband, but did you know that Zhang Qing is already married? I panicked a little. He actually has a wife. Zhang Qing clearly told me he was single. The female officer, no longer as gentle as she had been in the past few days, said sternly, through Zhang Qing's wife, we know you sent her messages and even called her to show off, and now you're telling us you didn't know. I seemed to be frightened, shrinking back, then raised my head and looked directly at the female officer. What do you know? The one who isn't loved is the third party. After Zhang Qing divorced Sister Yuan, he promised to marry me, but then he married someone else. It was that woman who came between me and Zhang Qing. The female officer looked at me as if I were insane, her tone complex. Then do you know that Zhang Qing is a serial killer? He hired someone to kill, murdering a total of 21 people, and even made specimens out of the victims' body parts. His next target is you. I was horrified and furious. What? He actually wanted to kill me. He said I was the woman he loved most. Woo-woo, I actually fell in love with someone who wanted to kill me. Seeing that I couldn't grasp the main point, the two officers exchanged glances for a moment, and then the female officer helplessly patted my shoulder. Miss Lin, calm down a bit. There are many suspicious points in this case, and we still need your help. You must stay calm. The two officers, seeing that I had calmed down, asked, do you know what caused the explosion? I shook my head. The male officer stared into my eyes and said softly, it was a gas leak. My heart tightened, and I licked my lips. Are you saying it was the soup I was stewing? The male officer nodded. I nervously picked at my fingers. Then, were there any other casualties? The female police officer said, the explosion resulted in 3 fatalities, with no innocent civilians harmed. That's good, that's good, I babbled incoherently, clutching the policewoman tightly. I didn't mean to, I just wanted to make some soup. Wah. Seeing me break down in tears, the female officer gently patted my back and comforted me softly, as my emotions gradually stabilized. The two officers bid me farewell and turned to leave. I silently watched their retreating figures. Frowning as I recalled my earlier behavior, that was a bit exaggerated, the case was progressing smoothly, despite many doubts. There is no evidence to prove that anyone else was involved, including me, although I had a motive for the crime, such as my sponsor Fu Yuan being killed by Zhang Qing. There is no evidence to suggest that I sought revenge on Zhang Qing for Fu Yuan's sake, because I had already become involved with Zhang Qing before Fu Yuan and Zhang Qing divorced. After Fu Yuan discovered this, she promptly sent me abroad, and at the same time, Fu Yuan filed for divorce from Zhang Qing. After that, Fu Yuan cut off all contact with me and only maintained communication with another child she sponsored. My sister is currently studying at a top university in the world and has no opportunity to commit the crime, and I am just a weak, selfish, malicious, and foolish mistress, lured back to the country by Zhang Qing, once again becoming his lover. Moreover, I am the next victim chosen by Zhang Qing. Who would ever suspect me, a hopeless romantic who wouldn't even abort the child of a serial killer? Most importantly, the explosion case involving Zhang Qing, who killed 21 people, and the delivery man and property man, who killed 3 people, shocked the entire city, who made Zhang Qing the serial killer announced by the government to reassure the citizens. The sooner this case is resolved, the better. I sat on the plane, next to the young man who helped me handle the plastic gloves and ignition controller. I leaned close to him, whispering in his ear with a smile, "Online, everyone is telling me to get rid of your child." I took out my phone, scrolled through the comments, and showed them to him. If the children of murderers are not eliminated, are we waiting for them to breed another antisocial beast? She's absolutely obsessed. I've never seen a woman more in love than her. She deserves to be chosen by a serial killer. This kind of love struck fool should just die. She'll behave once she gives birth and gets beaten every day. The young man frowned deeply. They've gone too far. I'm going to hack their computers and phones. Ha 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 ha. They don't even know I'm carrying your child. Talking about it won't hurt. And anyway, we're already abroad. I giggled, looking at the white clouds outside the airplane window. My mood grew a bit low. Sister Yuan promised to be our child's godmother, but the young man gently wiped away the tears at the corner of my eyes with his fingertip, held me close, rested his chin on my head, and whispered comfortingly, "We've already avenged Sister Yuan, all 4 of them, not a single one missing. Yeah, I wonder if Sister Yuan will be happy. I feel somewhat lost. My real name is Lin Yu, Lin Qi's older sister, Lin Qi, Lin Heng, and I are all orphans. When we were 16, Lin Heng and I received funding from the Fu Group because of our excellent academic performance. When Fu Yuan first came to the orphanage, she didn't seem like a young lady from a wealthy family at all. She didn't mind her beautiful dress getting dirty, nor did she show any disdain toward us. She would give the children gentle smiles, wipe their faces clean and give them kisses, and take care of toddlers as young as 3 or 4 who couldn't even control their drool. The Fu family originally only intended to sponsor Lin Heng and me. But after seeing the conditions at the orphanage, Fu Yuan decided to use her own money to sponsor all the children who were in high school. That was the first time we received a large personal donation without having to face the flashlights, without having to stand on the concrete stairs in the courtyard to sing for the donor and express our gratitude. Fu Yuan was a very different kind of young lady. She asked us to call her Sister Yuan, but in reality, she treated herself as our mother. She cared more about our lives and studies than the orphanage director did. Holidays would take us out to play, occasionally giving us little surprises. On ordinary days, she would also remind us to balance work and rest, to speak up when we were sick and not to endure it silently, emphasizing that health is the most important thing and assuring us not to worry about money. Even during parent-teacher meetings, the most humiliating moments for orphans, she noticed, she would make time to go to the school on those days, communicating with the homeroom teacher and various subject teachers. It seemed as if the orphanage had come to life since she started funding it. The dark cloud of inferiority that had loomed over the growing child was finally dispelled by the wind. Our lives were illuminated by the sun. With Sister Yuan's financial support, Lin Heng and I went abroad to study together. Sister Yuan said, "A Heng is so intelligent. Of course he should attend the most prestigious university for further studies. You two will be my right-hand men when I take over the company in the future." It's just that Sister Yuan only reports the good news and not the bad. I knew that when Sister Yuan got divorced, it was Lin Chi who called me crying and making a scene. Sis, Fu Yuan sent me abroad, you tell her to send me back. She doesn't even love Zhang Qing herself, so why won't she let me love him? My temples throbbed. What did you say, sis? Fu Yuan is putting on an act. She broke me and Zhang Qing apart. Lin Chi sobbed. Aren't you closest to her? She's about to get divorced. Go beg her to let me and Zhang Qing be together. Woo, Lin Chi, have you lost your mind? Sister Yuan is practically our savior. How dare you treat her like that? A surge of anger welled up inside me. Without a second thought for my studies, I flew straight to the school Sister Yuan had arranged for Lin Chi, gave her a few slaps, and asked while hitting her, "Are you awake now? Has your brain been eaten by a pig? Sister Yuan has been so good to us. How dare you bully her? If I don't beat you to death today, I'm not your sister." Lin Chi glared at me resentfully. "You're not my sister. You've been bought off by that bitch Fu Yuan. She hasn't lost anything, but I've lost my love." I felt somewhat powerless, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. "Love, your love is stealing Sister Yuan's husband. I really wish I didn't have a sister like you." I wiped away my tears in disappointment and turned to leave. Fortunately, Sister Yuan truly didn't mind. After divorcing Zhang Qing, she called me to say she was going on a world tour. Though we couldn't stay in touch all the time, she would email me every month to update me on her recent situation, eating, drinking, and having fun. She was thoroughly enjoying herself, but 6 months later, although Sister Yuan's emails continued to arrive as usual, I knew it wasn't Sister Yuan sending me the messages at all. It was my sister, Lin Chi. Lin Heng studied computer science at the same time. He was also an exceptionally skilled hacker. Our covert investigation revealed that Sister Yuan died an unnatural death. Sister Yuan was the only child of her parents, and after their passing, she inherited all the family assets. However, Sister Yuan never actually divorced Zhang Qing, because Zhang Qing did not agree. They were still in the cooling-off period for divorce. To avoid Zhang Qing's entanglement, Sister Yuan handed the company over to an agent and decided to travel abroad herself. While traveling in Thailand, she went missing, but no one cared. Most of her assets were taken over by Zhang Qing. Lin Chi returned to Zhang Qing's embrace, and she found her love. The two murderers specifically serving Zhang Qing received large sums of money and thrived under his protection. When Zhang Qing was preparing to get Lin Chi pregnant, I asked Lin Heng, "Would you be willing to give me a child?" Lin Heng remained silent for a long time before finally agreeing. After confirming my pregnancy, Lin Heng forged a new identity for me. We returned to China, drugged Lin Chi unconscious, and sent her to Australia. From then on, she became an undocumented person in Australia, left to fend for herself, and I took over her identity. Who made us twins? Zhang Qing caressed Lin Chi's belly, thinking to himself, after obtaining the final piece of artwork, "I'll arrange for an international hitman to take out the murderous duo who have blackmailed me multiple times. Why keep such untrustworthy people around?" Lin Chi leaned on Zhang Qing's shoulder, looking at his sharp jawline, and thought, "After I give birth to Zhang Qing's child, I'll poison him. Since he refuses to marry me, I'll take my own reward. The inheritance the child receives should naturally be managed by the mother." The two men drinking in the property management office cursed Zhang Qing for being a sucker while planning how to squeeze more money out of him. Otherwise, they exchanged a glance and shared a knowing smile, and I returned to the country with Lin Heng, planning how to capture them all in one fell swoop and avenge Sister Yuan. And so, the story of Someone Outside the Door began. Who will be the winner tonight? After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time. 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 Next time.